So a couple weeks ago, I released a video discussing the various hidden mechanics behind shields in Breath of the Wild, and what exactly the little numbers that reside by them actually mean. In the end, we came to the conclusion that these stats affected multiple different factors of a shield's performance, such as parrying, blocking, and most notably, its resistance, which deals with how the shields take durability in this game. But judging by the video's comments, a lot of you really seem to be interested in this one point in particular, and asked about the one thing that we didn't cover in the video: how does shield surfing affect durability? And by a lot of you, I mean that my comment section was flooded with this question. I honestly had no idea this was in such high demand. The only reason why it wasn't covered in that video, which mind you is not required to understand this one, is because its durability loss is not related to the stat numbers on the shield, which was what that video was about. So instead of just making a follow-up to address that one question, I thought this would be a perfect opportunity to discuss all the hidden stats behind shield surfing in this game, as there are a lot of misconceptions on how this mechanic seems to work, which sometimes scares off new players from using this ability as they are concerned about using it inefficiently by wasting durability. Things such as shield type, terrain, and even unique movements all have hidden characteristics that change the way that surfing and its durability consumption works. So by the end of the video, you should have a much greater understanding of all these details so you can use this ability to its most efficient potential. With that said, let's get into all the hidden details behind shield surfing in Breath of the Wild. To start us off, it's best to understand that the basics of how shield surfing works is just a close emulation of real-world physics. When surfing on your shield, there are two main factors that determine the speed and distance the player is going at: the incline of the slope and the friction of the surface you are traveling on. For inclines, going downhill usually makes the player gain speed, flat lines will cause them to gradually lose speed, and uphills will halt the speed even more, which is all relative to the steepness of the terrain. And the rate at which a player picks up or maintains a speed is due to the friction, which is how the shield reacts to the terrain itself. Low friction will cause the player to accelerate quicker and maintain their speed, while a high friction will cause them to quickly grind to a halt if the ground is not steep enough. So ideally, having the lowest friction possible will allow you to use the surfing ability to its fullest potential. And in this game, there are a total of 3 different factors that determine your level of friction when surfing: terrain type, the rain, and your current shield. The first two are rather self-explanatory, as every type of terrain boasts a different level of friction relative to their real-world counterparts. Snow has a very low friction, grass and dirt boast a medium level, while rocky and metal surfaces are extremely high in it. And if it ever starts raining where you are, this makes all the terrain you are currently surfing on much sleeker, which decreases your surfing friction by a wondrous amount. But lastly, the other factor that determines a player's friction is by far the most significant to understand, which is the shield type, as not all shields in this game are created equal in this regard. Although most shields have very slight variations in friction depending on their material type, there are 3 main shields in this game that boast significantly less friction than their counterparts: the Shield of the Mind's Eye, which reduces friction by 75%, the Ancient Shield, which reduces it by 85%, and lastly, the Radiant Shield, which reduces it all the way to 90%. These 3 shields will allow the player to accelerate much faster and maintain their top speed longer than all other shields in the game. And because of their low friction, they even make surfing through rocky environments like Death Mountain actually possible. But other than that, all other shields work basically the same in this regard, even including the fabled Kite Shield, which has been rumored for the longest time to work more efficiently for surfing, which is in fact not the case at all. So, now knowing the basics of how this mechanic works, this leads us into the most important question of the video: how does shield surfing affect durability? And honestly, one of the main reasons why people tend to avoid or limit their usage of shield surfing is because they are scared of losing too much of their durability just by coasting around the map. But as long as you understand how the consumption actually works, you'll learn how to use the shields a lot more efficiently. Because first off, there's actually a lot of different terrain types that don't even do any damage to your shield when surfing on them. The most obvious ones being snow and sand, as you're easily able to do things like riding sand seals and riding down snowy mountains without risking your shield breaking. However, another type of terrain that doesn't deal any damage to your shield, oddly enough, are the dirt paths, which can be seen all across Hyrule. I'm not 100% sure why this surface doesn't cause damage to your shield, as it even boasts a much higher friction rate than all the other undamageable surfaces, but I guess it's just best to use a surface to its advantage whenever you plan on going downhill near one. However, when it comes to all the other terrain types in this game besides these 3, they all deal damage to your shield when surfing on them as expected. And trying to figure out exactly how the durability loss is calculated took me a very large amount of time. But after running tons of different tests using different shields across various types of slopes, I was finally able to crack this code. So firstly, I just need to make it clear that every shield in this game has a hidden durability stat that is not shown off to the player in game. But these numbers are available both in the official guidebook and in various online forums, which we'll be referencing throughout the video, and I'll link them in the description below if you're curious. So after doing lots of testing, I discovered that there are two main ways that damage is dealt to a shield while surfing: impact damage and sledding damage. Impact damage is dealt every time your shield slams down on a surface, such as the initial kickoff while sledding, performing a jump by pressing the button, or even just catching some air after a slope and landing back down on the ground. Every single one of these moves reduces your shield's durability by exactly 1 point, regardless of the distance or speed of the impact. So you could theoretically jump off the top of a mountain with your shield out and land, while still only losing 1 point in durability, assuming you don't lose all your hearts along with it. The only time impact damage doesn't matter is when catching a very small amount of air and landing back down, as the game doesn't count that as a significant enough fall to take impact damage. So as long as you avoid jumping and catching air in favor of finding the evenest terrain to surf on, you can almost entirely avoid taking impact damage, which tends to be the quickest way that players tend to take shield damage without even knowing it. Now obviously, surfaces such as sand and snow are out of the question when it comes to this, but when it comes to all the other surfaces such as grass, rock, metal, and the rest of them, the only property of the surf that they affect is the surfing friction, which, contrary to popular belief, is not a factor in the shield's durability loss, as you'll lose durability just as fast on a hard surface like rock compared to a softer one like grass. In fact, the only other factor that matters when trying to figure out how shields take damage while sledding is the time that's spent doing it, as things such as terrain type, speed, and distance really don't matter. Through all my tests, I was finally able to figure out that the majority of the shields in this game take almost exactly 1/4 of a point of durability per second while surfing, which is significantly less than most players originally thought. This is why avoiding impact damage and sticking to flatter ground is a much more conservative way to go about surfing, as every impact you make trims off 4 potential seconds of coasting, which really adds up. Also, since durability consumption is time-based, it's not very efficient to continue surfing if you know you aren't able to go very fast, as running or paragliding will still be more efficient and cost-effective methods of travel in these scenarios. However, there is actually one more extremely helpful hidden stat about durability left to discuss, and that is the shield type. Now, we discussed that the majority of shields in this game work the exact same way in this regard, but just like how a few of them offer slightly less friction, there are also a few of them that have slightly different durability consumption ratios as well, which either lower or heighten the rate at which shields take damage. Assuming that the standard consumption ratio of a shield is 1, a Gerudo shield has a ratio of 0.7, Radiant is 0.6, the Daybreaker and Steel Lizzle shields are 0.5, Ancient is 0.2, and finally, the Royal Guard shield has a consumption ratio of 3. So to put this in an example, the Steel Lizzle shield, which has a consumption ratio of 0.5 and a durability of 15, will act the same as a 30 durability shield while surfing, as things such as impact damage will only take a half point of damage instead of a full point, and with surfing, will be able to last 8 points a second instead of 4. On the flip side, the Royal Guard shield, which has a consumption ratio of 3 and a measly 14 durability, can break with a mere 5 impacts, and loses a whole point of damage every 1 1/3 seconds, making it by far the worst shield in the game for surfing, and just one of the worst in general. However, when it comes to the best shield in the game for surfing, this title is easily awarded to the Ancient shield, as not only does it have a super low friction like we mentioned earlier, it also boasts a super low consumption ratio of 0.2, with a rather high durability of 32, which definitely makes it the go-to option for surfing in this game, despite being a little costly. But if we were to break down the math on the shield, we are able to surf on it for a grand total of 640 seconds, which is a really long time compared to the others. And because of its low friction, it's guaranteed that these 640 seconds will be time well spent, because you can be traveling faster than just about any method of transportation in this game while using it. However, if you don't care as much about the friction and more so the time you spent surfing, the only better option would be the Hylian shield, which has no exclusive benefits to shield surfing, but it does boast a durability of 800 points, meaning that you could get a good 3200 seconds of surfing out of it. So the choice is really up to you. But other than that, that's basically all you need to know about shield surfing in this game. Hopefully this helped clear up some of the weird misconceptions that were spreading around about the system, and you should now be able to use this mechanic a lot more effectively. This video was created due to all the wonderful feedback I received on my last shield video, discussing the meaning behind the hidden number stats, which I highly recommend you check out after this one. So if you guys have any more suggestions on stat related topics you'd like to see covered on the channel, I'd be more than happy to research them, as I still plan on making stat videos the main focus on the channel for the distant future, with occasional Zelda theories and analyses here and there, just to mix it up a bit. But other than that, thank you all so much for watching. If you found today's video helpful, please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already so you won't miss any future videos to come. Also, a huge shout out to my amazing patrons and YouTube members for supporting the channel. If you would like to help me out here for as little as $1 a month, all the info can be found in the description below. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.